Elon Musk had a meltdown yesterday, and it is really a fun watch because this guy has just completely lost it. He's always been an odd duck and has always had quite questionable politics.
Very, very nice way to put it.
PC.
He's just quirky.
Yeah, right. He's always been a little quirky, but now he's completely untethered. Right.
Pickle Rick.
And what's amazing here is just like how insecure he is. It's so disconcerting to see him look to the audience every other word with this like desperation for any kind of approval, and it does back up some of those rumors that he was apparently despondent after getting booed at the Dave Chappelle show in San Francisco. He is like, despite all that money and despite all of those hair plugs and the cosmetic procedures that become evident, I guess, when he's under this white hot spotlight sitting here next to Aaron Ross Sorkin of CNBC, who he called Jonathan at one point in the interview. Oh, sorry. Did I say Andrew?
I think you said Aaron.
Aaron.
I mean, who knows?
It's because I want to say Aaron Sorkin. Well, I'm getting it wrong too. But Andrew,
I was like, I only did this because you're a friend, Aaron.
Yeah, right. But he called him Jonathan at one point in the interview, and he was like, "I'm Andrew," and it's because he was referring to, I think he was confusing him with Jonathan Swan of Axios, but I have no idea. Regardless, he just is not all there at this point. Now, Andrew Ross Sorkin opens the interview. This is towards the beginning here, right? 2 minutes in, where he asks him about his trip to Israel. And Elon organized this trip, or went on this trip, after he had posted a very anti-Semitic tweet, or at least like endorsed a really anti-Semitic tweet by saying that this was the truth. That was a derivation of like the anti-Semitic claim that Jews are trying to like change the demography of the white Western world. And days later, after the ADL accepted his apology, he just showed up alongside Netanyahu. And Sorkin asked him about this.
And a lot of folks, and I want to tell you this. A lot of folks called me up and said, "You really going to host Elon Musk here? Can you believe what he just said on Twitter, on X, on X?
Yeah. No idea what this Twitter thing is you keep talking about.
Should you platform him?" That's what they said.
Yeah.
Should you platform him? And I said that I think that it's our role, and I know you have issues with journalists.
I have a platform.
I know you have an issue with journalists oftentimes, but I said it's our role to have conversations and to inquire and and sometimes even interrogate ideas. And I'm hoping we can do that. So I want to start just so we can begin this conversation and just level set. Take us through everything that happened, if you could.
Everything?
No, over the past week and a half.
How long have you got?
We've got the time.
Okay.
You send out a post or an X or a tweet.
Yeah,
I don't know what you want to describe
yeah.
it as.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to change. Like when things were just 140 characters, it made sense to call them a tweet because there's like a bunch of little birds chirping. But when the point at which you can put like 3-hour videos on, it's like it's a very long tweet.
So here we are.
Post is more descriptive, I think.
And at some point, I don't know where you were, but you write in responding to another tweet.
Yes.
This is the actual truth. And it's set
already cowardly presenting. I don't know why we can't have like anybody powerful interviewed by somebody with actual backbone. Why can't we read the actual tweet that he said, this is the actual truth, you have said the actual truth to? What that tweet said is, okay, this is from the Arbiters, I don't know what the guy's actual handle is, but the guy Musk was replying to said, okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested interested in giving the tiniest shit now about the Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing conclusion. And I'm just looking at I don't have the full thing, but you get to show
coming
more
to the
on it.
disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You
It's
want
great
the truth
replacement
said to your
theory.
face?
Yeah.
There it is. Yes. And then Elon
Just explicit.
directly in response says, without any addendums added at first, you have said the actual truth. And then after he got all that shit for it, he came out and put on an additional blaming of the ADL as one of those groups that unjustly attacks the majority of the West, despite the majority of the West supporting the Jewish people in Israel. And then he says this is because they cannot, by their own tenets, criticize the minority groups who are their primary threat.
Yeah.
So even in his addendum explaining what he meant, he's clearly endorsing the
White
great
supremacy.
replacement theory. I mean, it's
Yeah.
as clear as day.
And the ADL
I also
criticized
didn't-
him, right?
Yeah.
And then he had to and then he walked it back slightly, and then the ADL and Jonathan Greenblatt over there.
The ADL's like, this isn't going to mean anything for Israel, is it?
Right. And they clearly, I think, brokered this trip that he took to Israel, where
Obviously.
you'll see that Elon is wearing dog tags.
IDF dog tags.
Just Google dog tags, because they are IDF dog tags as a part of this performance that he's engaging in here.
I also want to say Andrew Ross Sorkin did not need to add any of that beforehand to sort of give the idea that Elon Musk was, people were reaching out to me telling me I shouldn't platform him. Like, who cares? First of all, the people who do that are using like the language that actual people who know what they're talking about use to actually, make the case of when we should not legitimately platform certain individuals. Elon Musk, one of the most known people on the planet, is not one of those individuals because you literally cannot platform him. He is Elon Musk. Anytime you have a chance to talk with him, you should absolutely take it, but you need to go into it knowing exactly what you're talking about, and let him talk. One thing I'll say about Andrew Ross Sorkin, though, even though his Matt pointed out, his questions are sort of mealy mouthed, but he did give Elon the breathing room to answer them.
I thought that was very well done. Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
and he definitely did a good job there. All things taken, I think Andrew Ross Sorkin did a decent job in this interview based on how Elon Musk came out looking, honestly.
yeah. I mean, that is a good. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I was going to say, I think that's because Elon Musk is like a unique beast, kind of like SBF. Like, they're very high profile people who aren't particularly like good at speaking or like savvy in communicating their ideas or being or good with being challenged.
You'll see hosts when they have someone like that, they try to help them along and interject and put some words in their mouth to help them along the way so that they can go ahead and go, oh yeah, exactly, and repeat what the host just told them. Andrew Ross Sorkin in this interview doesn't do that, which I think goes to just how well Elon Musk did this. Yes, exactly.
Give him enough rope to hang himself, and a lot of good interviewers do that. So yeah, let's let Elon do that and sit in the uncomfortable silence of it.
Tweet.
Yes.
This is the actual truth. And it set off a firestorm of criticism all the way to the White House.
Right.
And then you make this trip to Israel. You have advertisers who've left the platform. People calling.
Well, the trip to Israel is independent of it wasn't some apology tour.
Sure.
I want to be clear. That was.
Well, let's talk about that. But just take us back to the moment at which you write that.
Trip to Israel is independent of. It wasn't like in response to that at all.
Well, let's do. We'll do Israel in just a moment.
And I have no problem being hated, by the way.
I hear
Hate
you.
away.
Well,
The way
but
he looks
you know
at the audience for approval.
Lie detected.
Let's go straight to
So
that then for a
pathetic.
second.
Sure.
Because there is an idea, and you could say.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, but go back just 1 second. I don't care about being hated, as he desperately, his eyes
Looks to the
glistening,
crowd.
looks to see if the crowd will have a reaction. Just go back 10 seconds. I want to replay
he
that
does
moment
that throughout
again.
the whole interview.
I know.
Almost everything he says, there's a pause from him as he turns to the crowd, looking at for approval. It's very bizarre.
Can
They
you
just set the laugh
imagine?
track for him.
Yeah, having that amount of money and still needing that affirmation. No, he is a very sad person. All right.
I have no problem being hated, by the way.
I hear
Hate
you.
away.
Well, but you know what? Let's go straight to that then for a second.
Sure.
Because there is an idea, and you could say that
I think
you
it's a
don't
real
care-
weakness to want to be liked. A real weakness. And I do not have that.
Well, let me ask you this then. There's a difference between saying I don't care if anyone likes me or they hate me.
Yeah.
But given your power and given what you have amassed and the importance you have, I would think you want to be trusted. I would think maybe you don't need to be liked or hated, but trusted matters. If X is going to become a financial platform where people are going to put their money, where the government's going to give you money for rockets, where people are going to get into the cars, they need to ultimately decide that you are, maybe they don't have to say that they love you, but that you are ultimately a decent and good human being.
Yes, I mean, I think I am, but I'm certainly not going to do some sort of tap dance to prove to people that I am. So as for trust, I mean, I think we break that down in a few ways. If you want satellites sent to orbit reliably, SpaceX will do 80% of all mass to orbit this year. China will do 12%. The rest of the world will do 8%.
All right, we can skip this part. All right, so we heard the initial part. Now let's just skip. This is around 4 minutes later, 5 minutes later. This is about particularly the advertisers leaving the platform in response to the "you have said the actual truth" tweet, including Disney.
I'm actually glad we did play that SpaceX part because, I do think that's actually the most concerning of all this. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care too much about Tesla. I don't care too much about Twitter. I don't care too much about the Boring Company with their weird alcoholic beverages or whatever they are selling nowadays. Their direct to consumer blowtorches or whatever. The real concerning part is SpaceX and the fact that they are responsible for 80% of the satellite launches in the world. I mean, that's a massive amount of control and power that this guy has over the world.
I would also sort of push back on Sorkin. I can't remember what Sorkin is framing, because it's true. A lot of advertisers did leave Twitter in the aftermath of his response to that white supremacist tweet. But that's just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
We can't forget the other things he has done that are arguably, at least in terms of somebody who runs a site like that, worse for advertising and worse for his image. Like reinstating that guy who shared child sexual abuse material, which got his I don't know what the guy's position was. I remember his name's Nick Pickles or something crazy, got him dragged in front of Australian Parliament in the aftermath of that. So you're doing Elon a favor, I think, a little bit to pretend he just made one tweet in response to one guy and that's what got advertisers to go away. And it's no, it's been a slow a decline of Twitter, and a lot of decisions at the highest level have been not just problematic, but borderline illegal.
I mean, you can even see it in the first weekend.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I mean,
the first weekend that he bought the company, he was spreading conspiracy theories about the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Yes, and you can even see some of the complete strategic failures in the way that Sorkin can't even stop referring to it as Twitter, and Elon is desperately trying to get him to call it an X. I mean, this guy is a total moron. But this is the moment that is going viral, obviously.
Can I just add a little bit more context? Sure. This is from December 5th, 2022, my birthday, last year. Former Twitter employees explained why Apple actually paused ads. After 5 people were killed and dozens more were injured in November during a shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado, Apple made what many would consider a very ordinary business decision to pause ads on Twitter temporarily. But, the idea that it's just Elon... Twitter was bad under Dorsey. And I think probably overvalued by advertisers to a certain extent. But I think definitely Musk's, as Bender pointed out, immediately a qualitative change in the type of experience people get, and that's going to affect how willing advertisers are to give you billions of dollars. And then that is the context in which you can see how desperate and under pressure this guy is, as he pretends to be I'm so based, I don't give a crap. He's crying on the inside. He's saying I don't care about approval from other people, as he looks like
beady-eyed or like I should say probably eyes glistening is better.
Approval,
yeah, desperate for the approval of the crowd. Like so much of what this guy says is projection, and here's a good example of him attempting to paper over his own insecurities with false bravado and a stupid ass Top Gun jacket.
You know someone doesn't care if they're hated when they constantly tell you they don't care how much they're hated.
Exactly.
Trip like, and obviously you know that there's a public perception that, and you're clarifying this now, but there's a public perception that that was part of a apology tour, if you will, that this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger
I hope
today.
they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Bob Iger.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising.
As he answers that, pause it 1 second. You can tell the advertisers to go fuck yourselves. That's what they told you. Like,
yeah. No, he's pretending like he has some sort of power in the situation.
Getting dumped and then be like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Like, yeah, okay. Like, you really told them off.
Yeah. And like this, we get into in the rest of his reaction here, his delusions of grandeur about what people really think about the role of this social media company. He thinks that there's going to be grand retribution against the people that pull out of Twitter, as if the world is going to mobilize to preserve a social media app that's privately owned by this total clown. This is his reaction here, and this almost says everything you need to know about like the way that his brain is working or not working at this point.
Of X, if part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
Why?
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. So, actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
They're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. Right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
Okay. This goes back to.
We'll both make our cases,
right?
And we'll see what the outcome is.
What are the economics of that for you? I mean, you have enormous resources, so you can actually keep this company going for a very long time. Would you keep it going for a long time if there was no advertising?
I mean, if the company fails because of an advertiser boycott, it will fail because of an advertiser boycott. And that will be what bankrupted the company, and that's what everybody on Earth will know.
What do you think then of the, again, this goes back to the idea of trust, though.
Then it'll be gone. And it'll be gone because of an advertiser boycott.
But you recognize that some of those people are going to say that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. Yeah. And I just wonder and ask you and think about that for a second.
Tell it to the judge.
But the judge is going to be...
The judge is the public.
And you think that the public is going to say...
I think you're full of shit, buddy.
That Disney is making a mistake.
Yes.
And they're going to boycott Disney?
They already are.
Well, there are some that are for lots of different reasons, but you think that this is going to, that you have this goes to actually the interesting of power and leverage.
Let the chips fall where they may. That the chips or within it?
Can I ask why that is the approach? And I ask it because you've been
What's the other approach?
Well, you've been very particular about the approach to Tesla. When you think about the engineering involved in that, the approach to
Yeah. Then we move on to that. But sorry, we lost Brandon for a bit. But
it's bizarre because he thinks why would the advertisers or the general public care if his company fails? Like, that's the whole thing from the very beginning.
Yeah, why?
The idea that
are.
Yeah.
Why?
Like the idea that
thinks
there's some sort of there's going to be some sort of, retribution, and that people will see why the company failed and they're going to take it. Who cares? Companies fail all the time. No, why would people care that your company failed?
Because he literally has said that he believes that Twitter is some sort of civilizational project, and that's part of why he's undergoing such rapid changes within the company to mold it in his vision. I mean, he's a megalomaniac, and he believes that that regular human beings, the billions of people that are on this planet, are going to mobilize to protect a company that's already dying in front of everybody's eyes, and people are spitting on its grave to a certain degree. There's just no fundamental understanding of what motivates human beings, honestly, who have much bigger things to worry about than the social media app collapsing.
I think there's also
I'm taking to the streets to protest MySpace falling apart. I mean, honestly, I'm going to topple governments to protect Tumblr.
But at the end of the day, will there be people upset if Twitter goes under? I'm sure, but it's not going to be
Elon
this
Musk.
some sort of yeah. That's the thing too. He clearly doesn't care enough about the company to alter what's necessary to alter in order to save it. He's just refusing.
No, he's bored of it. I mean, that's the thing is the entire purchase of this I've always said is a win-win for him. Either he does get to shape it into cut the fat and make it a trim, profitable business that he controls, and look at that, or he just sinks it, and a thing that annoys him, it doesn't exist anymore. And so that's what I see. We're entering that phase now where he's bored of all this shit. He's increasingly getting more and more flagrant with the type of edgelord and stuff he's willing to do on it, and he doesn't care about the advertisers because he doesn't actually care, because it's actually beyond his capabilities to turn Twitter around at this point. So you might as well just drive it into the ground.
And I think part of why he purchased it too was to craft it in his image potentially and make it into a bank, because he has all these unresolved desires to do what he wasn't able to do with PayPal, which he also wanted to make X, is my understanding, or one of those early ventures that became PayPal. But regardless, he achieved what he wanted to, which is undercutting the journalists on the platform.
Right.
That was his major impetus for buying it, which was that he has resentment towards journalists, and that's why he democratized it with the checks. And it makes it clear, ahead of an election and ahead of a lot of important moments in our politics, it completely muddies what is true and what isn't true. And that was exactly what he wanted to do from the outside.
I think it gave it away when he first bought it and said, okay, I'm going to wait to do anything until after the election so people don't suspect that I am doing this for political reasons. It's yeah, don't blow it for the midterms is what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, I think catch and kill operation, which is what Trump and the National Enquirer used to you go, someone's got a story about Trump that's going to come out, let's go buy it and then make sure that never comes out. This is just another a higher profile version, but it's at a whole platform. And I mean, you see different sort of media properties get bought up and then sunk all the time. That, to me, that's what this is. And I almost don't I don't think it's a super planned the way he's doing it. I don't think it's smart the way he's doing it. But I think there's an intentionality that's there, that he wants this thing to die.
Yeah. And then this is, I guess, the final clip related to Israel and anti-Semitism and Palestine. This is him defending the post in particular that was referenced, and he tries to qualify it here and backtrack and appeal to pro-apartheid organizations like the ADL.
Everyone here has seen the massive demonstrations for Hamas in every major city in the West. that should be jarring. Well, a number of those organizations received funding from prominent people in the Jewish community. Right. They didn't expect that to happen. But if you generically, right, without condition, sort of fund, if you fund persecuted groups in general, some of those persecuted groups, unfortunately, want your annihilation. And what I meant by that, and I subsequently clarified, is that it's unwise to fund organizations that support groups that want your annihilation. Is this coming across clearly?
Yeah, no, it is. My question to you, though,
I think logically this makes a lot of sense.
Is there any part of you, I mean, just tell me what happens, though, once all this happens?
Let's say you fund a group, and that group supports Hamas, who wants you to die. Perhaps you should not fund them.
Right. But you do.
So this is him.
You do appreciate that when you wade into these very delicate waters at these very delicate times.
Yes.
That it can create a real, I mean, as it created headlines for the past 2 weeks, and economic impact. I'm just so curious what happened in your brain when you see all this happening. Are you sitting there going, oh my God, I stepped in it, I wish I didn't do that? Are you saying, screw them, I hate these people, why are they after me?
But all of that.
Oh, yeah,
all of that. I mean, look, I'm sorry for that tweet or post. It was foolish of me. Of the 30,000, it might be literally the worst and dumbest post that I've ever done. And I try my best to clarify 6 ways to Sunday. But, at least I think over time
it'll be obvious. He was promoting Pizzagate just the other day.
Yeah.
He was promoting a Pizzagate just the other day. The conspiracy theory that there is a hidden child sex trafficking ring under the in the non-existent basement of a pizza place in DC that a lot of politicians go to because of its location. And the whole conspiracy came from an insane 4chan-esque reading of the leaked Hillary Clinton server emails. That's the entire basis for that conspiracy theory. And he was sharing it along with other fake things surrounding it, like this ABC News journalist who was arrested for, I believe it was, he had child sex abuse images on his computer. Again, horrible people do those things, not related at all to this non-existent conspiracy theory. But then they tried to connect that by right-winger or conspiracy theorists tried to connect that by making a fake New York Post headline claiming that ABC News journalist who was arrested for having those photos was actually the debunker of Pizzagate, when in reality the guy never even covered Pizzagate. But Elon had shared a Pizzagate meme, and when was asked about what the context was for promoting Pizzagate, he shared that story that has nothing to do with Pizzagate because he saw that fake headline. Just to give you an idea of this is not a one-off from him. It's something he consistently does.
Yeah.
And he's got no problem doing it.
Right. It's clearly his ideology. And even when he restates it here, he treats Jewish people as a monolith and is essentially scolding Jewish activists like Jewish Voice for Peace, I think, who he's referring to at least. Or
he's definitely referring to the ADL. He's definitely referring to the ADL because he definitely saw the ADL has been getting criticism.
Wait,
I know, but that's probably who he. But again, that's the thing. He can't offer an example because it's not. There is no.
Because Sorkin didn't follow up. Because Sorkin didn't do shit besides saying, "I'm wondering what's going on in your brain." I do appreciate that, but honestly, when Elon decided to sit on a stage for that long, he was going to get enough rope. So when Elon says, "Yeah, actually, what I meant was Jews funded all these Hamas protests," the interviewer needs to say, "Hey, be specific."
I hear you on that.
What do you because.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
No, I hear you for sure. Right. No, that's absolutely. He doesn't have an example. Name a single Jewish organization that he's using as, that he's claiming does this, who gives money funding to a organization that's out there specifically promoting Hamas. It's not. There is no example.
Yeah,
There's about 3 leaps in that.
Right. Because there hasn't even been protests supporting Hamas across the country, like he said.
Right.
He's using the example of maybe like 2 speakers at 2 different events who said something that was construed that way or was that way. And that's his example of every single protest that's happened all over the world every single day since October 7th, trying to stop what's going on, the deaths of innocent civilians in Gaza. He is, without a doubt, labeling all of those daily protests around the world as being pro-Hamas. I'm sure he's in that same group that views Greta Thunberg as a terrorist supporter because she's out there saying no climate justice in occupied territory.
Just to connect the dots here, he's almost certainly referring to George Soros, who gave money to gave money to Open Society Foundations, gave money to about the Titus Center, a center left-wing advocacy group. And for example, this is the example they give. For example, Tides donated to the Adela Justice Project in Illinois. Adela posted on October 7th, the day after the massacre, a picture of a bulldozer ripping through Israel's Gaza security fence with the caption, "Israeli colonizers believed they could indefinitely trap 2 million people in an open-air prison. No cage-going challenges." Now, just to respond to that, had there not been any massacre of civilians and had the attack been confined to IDF, occupation forces, and police, then I'm sorry, like I would have had the same reaction to that. Those bulldozers, which, as the thing they're taking offense to, that is an open air prison, and it was broken out of by people confined in there. Now, the violence afterwards is lamentable and condemnable. Now, where you ultimately put the blame on that, I would say, like, it starts with the conditions that put people within the open air prison. But like, that's it.
Yeah.
And like, I would imagine, I followed up, but I imagine they're not saying like Adala Justice Project has probably walked that back. Otherwise, I think this article would probably name some more subsequent to finding out the full, which we still don't entirely know, but the full horror of October 7th.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is a prime example of how anti-Semites are capitalizing on this moment, on Israel's indiscriminate bombing in Gaza that has killed at least 15,000 people, including 6,000 children, as a way to redefine what anti-Semitism actually means. And in the definition that is provided by these right-wingers who are explicitly anti-Semitic in other contexts, including literally what's leading to this public meltdown by Musk, they are defining anti-Semitism as being against the Western white power establishment, which is a very, very scary moment, or should be, at least in my opinion, for continued efforts to combat anti-Semitism. It plays right into the Netanyahu government's aims, which are the continued linking of Jewish people internationally and the Jewish diaspora as to Israel's crimes as a way to, I would say, use Jews internationally as human shields for their crimes, to borrow their own phrase. And he's a prime example of this, Elon Musk. One of the biggest racists and most prominent anti-Semites, arguably right now in the world, given how public facing he is and how much money he has and how much power he has. So if you want to understand that that tension right now and the exploitation of Jewish pain for the aims of like a white Western establishment, look no further than apartheid apologist Elon Musk.
Also, I think everything you said obviously is great. But one thing I wanted to add is I'm looking at his tweet again. The explicit claim that he was agreeing to wasn't that Jewish people are helping or funding groups that are anti-Jewish or anti-Jew. The specific claim he was agreeing with, which he completely ignores during his talk, that panel with Andrew Ross Arkin, the specific claim he was agreeing to was that Jewish people are funding the destruction of white people. Which is a whole separate thing than what so I mean, his whole argument his whole explanation to begin with is complete bullshit.